Hey everybody, Nick here, and today it's time for a collection overview video. Basically, what all everyday carry gear in terms of watches, pens, knives, flashlights, etc. has stuck around in my everyday life. And so we're going to go on ahead and jump into that. I always feel a little bit weird about these videos because at some level it does feel like flexing. It's a little bit like, but at the same time, I can understand why people request this regularly. At some level, I am a gear reviewer, and so for some people, the question of what sticks around in my personal collection is actually very relevant and very interesting to folks. So I've kind of gathered everything up, taken stuff out of the safe, etc. Put it all into this little box right here, and we can go on ahead and talk about what lives in my collection at the moment. But two things I want to address before we go further. First off is the idea that something being in my collection means something different than a recommendation. At some level it does, certainly. But the thing is, very often I'll do these videos and people will say, wait, hold on, you recommended X, Y, or Z, but it's not in your collection. What gives? Are you lying? Is this corruption? Are you crazy? Well, look, I'm wearing a Batman mask and walking you through a collection of gear. Crazy is, well, that's on the menu. However, it means something fundamentally different for me to recommend something and for it to land in my personal collection. Same thing with sales, by the way. If you see something that isn't there anymore, that shouldn't be like, oh my God, how dare you? You're lying. No, all that means is that something else replaced it, or for some reason it ceased sparking joy. And for me, if something doesn't get carried regularly, it can't stick around. And so, things come, things go, and that's kind of the nature of the beast. But that doesn't mean that I never liked the thing that was there. It just means that something else has replaced it, or I just wanted to free up some funding. So please don't overinterpret what is here or what isn't here in terms of my prior reviews. There's lots of stuff that I recommend that I think is amazing, but I would never purchase or would never own. And at the same time, there's stuff that I have loved and still love in some ways, but have sold down the road. The other big question that I'm going to get a lot of is, Nick, what the heck what are you keeping all this in? So in my last collection overview video, I had a no-name chest from Amazon that was quite nice for the price, I suppose. But I decided, you know what, I'm going to keep an eye out for upgrades. And so Gerstner International, or Gerstner Tools, is a company that makes this tool chest right here, actually this pair of chests, and they have two brands. There's Gerstner USA and there's Gerstner International. These are a set from Gerstner International. I actually kept an eye on Craigslist, believe it or not, ended up picking these guys up from a wonderful gentleman up in Orange County of the California here at a very, very nice price for the two of these. And so I ended up picking these guys up, and I'm really happy I did. But I'll be showing that off a little bit. And but these are the international version, not the USA made ones. The USA made ones is super lustworthy, and I definitely want to check out at some point. But they're also closer to $2 or $3 grand, and that's a whole bunch of freaking money. So, anyways, keep an eye out. That's what I got going on here. And these this particular set of chests here are discontinued, but they have new ones that are very similar, and I'll throw a link in the description down there below. But anyways, let's go on ahead and pop this guy open and take a look at the current state of the collection. So in the collection here, we have watches, knives, and then down here, pop all this closed, we have a whole bunch of other drawers containing other stuff. Let's go on ahead and get into watches. Do not get into watches. On the watch front, my collection is actually relatively small. The first item here is the Omega Seamaster Professional 300. This is, in many ways, my favorite it's certainly my favorite mechanical watch, frankly, of all time. I'm yet to find a mechanical watch that I like more than this one, even at substantially higher prices. I mean, like the Batman GMT Master is, well, it's a thing for obvious reasons. However, this is an absolutely beautiful piece, and it's a piece that's been on my wrist damn near all the time. I'm about to put it back onto my wrist, for that matter. But it is a really, really nice watch, and it's a watch that has kind of prevented me from buying other mechanical watches. Every time I go out and I go, oh, wow, this is amazing, I think to myself, is it better than the Omega? No, not really. And so ultimately it doesn't end up getting purchased. And that's actually been really helpful for my budget, but a little bit problematic for the channel, right? And so I've been looking down market because frankly, this is about as high end on mechanical as I need to go. Also, in terms of accuracy, it is damn near quartz-like. We are talking, plus or minus, smaller fractions of a second a day. That's absolutely beautiful. So this watch I very, very much love, and it is very safe in my collection. I like this guy a lot. Next in the watch watch lineup here is this little guy. This is the Breitling watches Aerospace. This is a beautiful watch. I right now have it mounted on the Breitling strap, and then I actually ordered a set of leather straps from K&H Leather. Actually, a couple of my gear items are from K&H, but anyways, so these are custom straps, but nevertheless, this is a watch that I like a lot. It's really, really good. It's stupid accurate. It's running about plus 3 seconds per year accurate, which is just amazing. In my follow-up review, I mentioned that this guy is probably going to get sold. That video is actually a little bit older, even though it hasn't aired yet. In practice, I realized that if I wanted to sell this, I would take a pretty substantial bath relative to what I paid. And frankly, the amount of money that I would get out of it is probably not equal to the amount of enjoyment I will get out of keeping it around. And so this guy actually, although if I had to sell any watch right now, this one would probably go first. This is a watch that I do very much enjoy, and it still does find time onto my wrist. It's a really great travel watch, and frankly, I freaking like it. But the watch that it made me think about kicking that guy out of my collection is this guy. This is the Casio Oceanus OCW S5000C-1AJF Casio. You are figuratively killing me with these names. This is a beautiful watch. In fact, my wife calls it my pretty watch, and it is indeed freaking gorgeous. It is a world timer watch, so I can tell that right now in London, England, we are looking at about 6:30 p.m., which is kind of cool. It is a stopwatch. It is basically all the watch that I could ever possibly need for a price that is about half of the price of the Omega or the Breitling. And so, yeah, that's a thing. But I like this watch a lot. And in fact, this watch has replaced the old school Oceanus as well as the T200, which actually got sold to Tony Scullenbrady after I loaned it to him. I'm an evil man. But anyways, I like this watch a lot, and it just has everything I could need, and so this gets a lot of freaking wrist time. And then in the back here, we've got this guy. This is the Omega Seamaster Aquaterra. This is an older version in quartz. The fact that it is in quartz means that I got this guy very, very inexpensively, because not that many people are after quartz watches in the higher end, which is silly, because, oh my God, quartz is amazing. In fact, most of my collection is quartz, but this is a beautiful watch in terms of its just aesthetics. I find this to be a gorgeous watch. It's a nice dress piece with nice polish, and especially you throw it on a nice little deployed strap. This is an $8 strap from, Amazon.com. But anyways, and it does just, it's beautiful. It also happens to be the watch I wore on my wedding day, which means that it's kind of stuck in my collection, so to speak, but I think for all the best reasons. So there's that. Then I have two other watches that are worth speaking of. Well, of course, I have my ultra-thin movement Lange Zone Zeitwerk. Very, very, very thin. Unfortunately, it only is right twice a day, so that's kind of awkward. I have this guy. This is the Casio. This is the Citizen Eco Drive BM8180. This is a very, very nice travel watch, and especially it's a watch that I'll wear if, for instance, I just don't want to be wearing anything fancy. It's a really nice choice for that. It has all the skills that I need, so to speak. It does everything that I need, although the date is currently a day behind. I haven't adjusted that in a little while. And it's accurate. It's freaking good. And considering that the price on it is very inexpensive, these are, you see them now for like 60 to 80 bucks on sale. Holy cow, is this thing nice. And then finally, I do actually have a Seiko Samurai. Right now it is on loan to my buddy Nehemiah over at the Metal Effort channel, just because, why not, right? And but that is another mechanical watch, and it is a great watch. It's a very nice watch for, I don't know. I like it. I like it substantially, and so it's stuck around. In practice, if I were a reasonable human being, it would replace the Omega here, but I'm a kid who grew up playing GoldenEye, right? It's going to be hard to replace that. Yeah, that's how marketing gets you. So anyways, that's the watch component of the collection here. We'll go on ahead and move into pocket knives because they're next. Up back here, we have the Grimsmo Knives Norseman. This is a knife that I like substantially. I have liked substantially for a long time on the channel. And this guy, you may remember it at one point having been gold. But in fact, I sent it over to my buddies over at EDC Gear House and, my buddy, I guess. And he was able to anodize it and did a really nice job bringing it back to this beautiful blue that actually in some ways matches my original Norseman. It's a little darker, but in some ways I like that a lot. This guy doesn't actually get as much pocket time as some of the others just because it is relatively big. And I just don't carry big knives that often. But it definitely sticks around there because it is an action showpiece. I mean, the Norseman is Absolutely, 100% an action showpiece, and it's just a good watch a good knife overall. Next guy here, and we'll just kind of go down the list here. This is the ProTech Sprint Ultimate Gem Edition. I'll see if I can show off the mother of pearl here. This is a beautiful thing. ProTech even had my logo engraved in there without telling me ahead of time. Yeah, this is one of the most beautiful objects I own. This Omega is another one. It's a good contender, but this is a much more classy, old school sort of thing. This is hand engraved by Bruce Shaw. Absolutely just amazing. I have a full video up on it, but this is just a gorgeous thing. This is an example of mastery, and, in some ways, this knife, the ProTech, the investor collectors, often, they don't look as good in camera as they do in practice, and so I'm really glad that I was able to pick one of those guys up, and that one is very, very, very safe in the collection. That would be one of the very last knives I sold. Next guy here in the collection is another fancier piece. This is the Pena Knives Front Flipper Trapper. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful little knife here. It is all micarta here, and it is a it's a very modern traditional knife. It is a front flipper there. You could see that happen, but it is also very traditional in its lines and whatnot, yet it is still a liner lock knife. I mean, it is, and it's just beautiful. It's technically perfect. I mean, Pena does amazing, amazing work, and so I'm really happy to have this guy. This is, in many ways, my only real super custom knife, although you could argue, although this is a production platform, as is my Busker, etc., but that's a custom knife through and through, and it's a pretty good one to have. Next in line here is the Alambic Busker. This guy is the replacement Alambic Busker to replace my original one that was stolen some time back. Absolutely beautiful knife. The edge is mine, by the way. Don't blame them for that. But nevertheless, this is a beautiful knife with a nice tight Damasteel weave. The acid rain pattern here to reduce the weight on it. It's just a really nice piece. And again, Damasteel in the clip. Yeah, I enjoy it. There's not all that much more to say about it. Next one is a knife with a longer story. This is the Southern Knives Mini Tolk. This is a knife that I bought for the channel a long time ago. In fact, the Mini Tolk won my Best of Blade Show 2017 award, so to speak. And then I got it, and I got this exact knife, and, I liked it a lot. It had one issue, which is that the detent was a little bit weak. And, at the time, I liked it, but, it wasn't like, oh my God, yes, take me now kind of action. And so, as a result, it ended up getting sold. The buddy I sold it to later on said, Nick, you know what, I think I'm going to get rid of this guy. Do you want it? And offered me an amazing price. It's like, yes, I do want it. And I actually sent back to Brad. I said, Brad, would you be willing to get just to make this detent a little bit hotter? And he did, and it is now amazing. And couple that with the beautiful blade in 20 CV with a nice thin edge. This has been a knife that's very, very easy to get into my pocket. I like this guy just substantially. Very, very good piece. This guy is the TRM Atom. Which is one of the better knives to come out in 2019. It's certainly in the contender for Knife of the Year. Super thin edge, super thin stock, super thin, just everything, very lightweight. This is a knife that I like substantially, and it's no shock that it's stuck around, although actually in some ways it is a shock, because I also have the Neutron, which is a smaller version of the Atom, or at least a smaller subcomponent, if you will. And I thought when I got the Atom that it was just going to be a quick review and then send it along, but it turns out I end up carrying both on different days. The Atom is a really good all-arounder. The Neutron is a nice smaller piece. Both of them are spectacular knives. I like them both, but I'm a little shocked that both of them have stuck around, but they really, really have. They're both just good. Next guy. This is the Carbon Fiber Chris Reeve Knives Mundy. This is a good knife. This is a really substantially good knife. The thing about this particular knife is not just that it's a Menundi, which is a good thing, but it is a knife that was effectively gifted to me by my viewers. After I lost the Busker, a number of people were saddened on my behalf, and a couple of folks, Dr. Frunke and Spade Knife Works, put together a thing where they raised funding basically through the crowd to buy me this knife. This, at some level, it's super generous, just putting all of that aside. But there's also a level of emotional attachment I have to this knife as a result. This knife is not for sale and never will be, just because, well, this was bought to me by people who like what I've done here, by people who, at some very perhaps superficial level on the YouTube thing, but care about me. And as a result, this is a knife that ends up slipping its way into my pocket on days of consequence, right? You know, if I were going to do something really important in my life, I would throw this in there. This is really cheesy, and I'll freely admit there's some cheese involved here, much like Swiss watches. Anyways, I digress. But that knife, every time I carry it, it reminds me that there are people out there, you know, above and beyond, you know, wife, mom, that kind of thing, who give a damn about me. And that feels nice. It's sort of, this is the support of my viewers personified, or knife-onified, I suppose. And so for me, that's a wonderful thing. And that is a wonderful knife. A knife that is also by Chris Reeve Knives. This is the Shabazz, the small Shabazz in the Doppler pattern. I have a full video up about why I ended up keeping this guy. But long story short, it's a good idea as a reviewer to have a Shabazz around. The Shabazz is a benchmark knife. There is nobody out there in the world who would say anything other than the Shabazz 21 is an important knife in knife-making history. No matter what else you believe about it, it certainly is a good point of comparison, but it's also a solid piece. It's also a very nice knife, and I like the Doppler pattern a lot, being an acoustics guy, so, you know, this one has stuck around. Another knife is the tie lock here. This guy is maybe a little more precarious than some in the collection. I've occasionally thought about selling it, but I also know that it's discontinued, and if I were to sell it, there's a pretty good chance I couldn't get it back, or I couldn't get one back. And this is actually one of the knives that inspired me to keep going with the channel, right? Because, you know, when I was looking at the tie lock, I was thinking to myself, wow, I should go find some reviews. And the problem is, at the time I was looking, there really weren't any reviews from anybody who was remotely like me, who was remotely an everyday sort of person, a daily life, who weren't talking about, you know, stabbing, you know, dispatching tangos and stabbing terrorists and jumping out of planes. There was nobody out there doing that kind of thing. Maybe not nobody, but there weren't many people out there. And so I couldn't find the video I wanted to see, so I bought the knife and made that video. So there's that. Somebody's backing up. Sorry about that. Hopefully it's not too loud. Right here we have, so anyways, the tie lock is definitely stuck around, but is maybe a little more precarious than some. Here is the Monterey Bay Knives EZC. This is a beautiful, beautiful little tool. It's a good knife. I mean, flat out. It's a relatively thin edge, and I've thinned it out even a little bit more with some sharpening aftermarket. It is a thin edge. It is a nice little piece. This is a very easy knife to throw in the pocket. It's tiny. It's compact. Those mean the same thing. There you go. But I just like it. It's a good little tool. And I have lots of good little tools. And in fact, that's a good theme of this collection, is just good little tools. But that's among them. Here's a good big tool. This is the Graham Knives Razel. This is the GMT Razel. Yeah, just GMT Razel, I suppose. These are discontinued. It was a small run because limited edition, because why? But anyways, it was in many ways one of the first higher end knives that I got. Moving into this realm was a step forward for me, and at the time it really blew me away because it was one of the first I had that had a really amazing bearing action. In practice, I can now see that there were flaws of this guy. This is a part of being a reviewer and being a jackass whose taste gets more expensive. I can see, you know, the lockup is crazy, you know, early, or oh, this really needs a detent ramp, those kinds of things. But at the same time, it's a beautiful piece. I sold it at one point in time, but then had the opportunity again to buy it back at a great price, and that was an opportunity that I took because it's kind of iconic for the channel. Speaking of iconic for the channel, Slipjoints. Spyderco Slipjoints. This is a knife that stopped my collecting for a little while. It is so damn good. I have a video all about the details of this knife. I love this knife so very, very much. In fact, you know, I was about to sell this knife. This is one of the very first knives I ever reviewed on the channel. Not a good review, mind you, but it was a review. Unfortunately, it's discontinued because Spyderco hates the world, I guess. But it is an amazing piece. It is not, by the way, a knife that's as expensive as everybody else is making it out to be. You shouldn't be paying $450, $600, $800 for this. In fact, and by the way, this one is not for sale. Actually, no, I correct myself. This knife is not for sale except for $6 million. If you want to give me $6 million, then I will give you this knife 100%. And then I'll go buy a house in Southern California. So, yeah, that'll be fun. Anyways, I digress. So this is a great knife, though. It is a knife that is just Yeah, a freaking plus. Not worth what they're claiming it's worth on eBay, but it's still good. This is a knife you should consider, even if the Sleech Bowie isn't available. This is the Spyderco Spidey Chef. A great piece, absolutely a wonderful piece. There was a lot to love about the Spidey Chef. The steel is great, the handle is great. Same designer as the Bowie. It's got a couple of little downsides, namely the edge is a little close in the back here, and they're a little hard to find these days, but they're just substantially good. In fact, this is yet another knife that's so nice I bought it twice. The Sleech Bowie, the Razel here. I bought a bunch of Shabazz now. That's a common theme. But I actually got one. I sharpened it up, put a beautiful edge on it, and then I sold it to Frankie and Bird over a Birdshot IV channel because I'm an idiot. And then I bought another one, which they don't ever hesitate to remind me about. Yeah, nice piece. Hard to get, but if you can get one, good idea. This is the Gerber Fastball. More specifically, this is the Nick Shabazz edition that I made at the factory there. The edge is mine, not theirs. Nevertheless, you can see here they engraved it with my brand on there, although they left off the gem because I hadn't called it a gem, which is a very nice bit of humility I appreciated from them. But anyways, this is a very, very nice little piece. In some ways, is it the same caliber as some of the other ones? No, but what it does remind me of is the factory tour there, which was definitely a joy for me. At some level, it's just cool, right? This is one of those where I'm going to say this is my flat-out subjectivity. Is it to the same caliber as the rest? No, but is it still a fine little piece? Does it get some pocket time? Yes, it does. And so, there you go. There's that. Spyderco Native 5, lightweight here. Again, this is my edge, not theirs, but nevertheless, this is a great little piece, especially given that it is in LC200N steel, which is a perfectly rust-proof knife. I mean, this knife overall is completely rust-proof. I dyed the scales blue, just for those of you who are going to ask, but yeah, very easy choice if I'm going down to the beach to throw that one in the pocket. Not so pricey and completely rust-proof. Spyderco Shaman in M4 steel. This was a limited edition from Blade HQ. Sadly, they made it limited. And I then got some scales made by Shepard CC. He's on the Instagram. He unfortunately, so I love the scales. Technically, they're perfect. He tends to take a long time to deliver, so you want to keep that in mind. But this, especially with these scales, I'd like the Shaman a lot generally. I like the scales a lot. This is just a good piece. It's a really, really nice little knife here. And so I recommend the Shaman heavily. And I really do hope that Blade HQ does another round of the M4s, because that's one of the best steels, I think, out there, especially for this knife. Speaking of customized, this is a wonderful little piece. This is the Spyderco Nirvana, but it has been reground. This is actually a regrind by Josh over at Razor Edge Knives, who is a... is it Josh? Yeah, I think so. Anyways, Razor Edge Knives is the brand, but it has been reground to an incredibly thin edge, making this S90V not only no longer ugly and bead blasted, but also just cuts like a freaking laser beam. It's big, absolutely 100% an aftermarket clip as well. It's big, 100%. It's a little ridiculous, but at the same time, I like this knife substantially. It also has the joy that actually a pair of friends are involved with this. My buddy Jim, the original buddy Jim from the channel, who really in many ways got me started, had this guy reground. He sold it to my buddy Sid, who has been a huge supporter of the channel. And then I ended up buying it, or getting it off of Sid. So that was a beautiful, beautiful thing. And so this is a knife that is not only great and great at cutting, but also it reminds me of two good friends, and that's a great thing. This is also the knife that kicked the Python out of my collection, by the way. Just when I had one with this thin of an edge, just one every time. So there you go. This is the Herman Knives Sting. This is the Damasteel version that I ordered after my original one. This has 0 lock stick. It is technically, in many ways, a much better knife than the original one, although there are a couple of little downsides. The biggest one of which is that, actually, and I didn't know this at the time, the Damasteel blade is thicker than the M390, or than the M390 the original. And although it still comes to a nice thin edge, that's something that's a little bit less than ideal for me. Also, I didn't know this at the time, but the pivot and the backspacer, because I bought it just based on like, oh yes, give that to me now. The backspacer and the pivot are fat carbon material with some kind of brown inlaid into carbon fiber, which honestly doesn't super do it for me. This is probably the knife that if I end up deciding I'm going to sell a knife, this may be the one to go. Not because the Herman is bad in any way, it's just because ultimately this turned out to be a little bit less, than what I was hoping for. Not that and that's a matter of personal taste. But anyways, this is a beautiful, beautiful little knife, and I still like it a lot. I mean, the machining on it is still amazing, but it's also not one that, may be around for long term. Hinder a half track. I don't know why I own this knife. I don't know why I love this knife. I own this knife. I love this knife. This is just an amazing little piece. Again, this is here, my edge, not theirs, but nevertheless, absolutely beautiful, beautiful, beautiful freaking knife. It's thick, it's silly, it's small, it's ridiculous, it's wide, but by God, it sticks around. And it runs beautifully on the tri-weight. I don't get these sometimes, but I know that this is a great knife and it sticks around. And then finally in this top part here, we have the Spyderco FRN Chaparral. This is a very great knife, just generally speaking. It's an amazing knife for everyday carry, but it is also a great knife for being a relatively inexpensive choice for everyday carry. If I'm just going to grab something and I want it to be something pretty cheap, and, not that $80 is cheap, but certainly compared to some of the other ones in here, it's less expensive. That's a really good choice, and that's often the one that I'll grab. I do have a couple of other pocket knives down below, a couple of other. I got a bit of a problem here, folks. I'll go ahead and pull these drawers out here and then show you. And these, by the way, are just desiccant packet sort of things. You can recharge them that just keeps the humidity down a little bit. Right here, I've got the Booze Blades Smoke, which is a spectacular piece. Not only is it a good front flip and not only is it a cool design, but it's actually one of the earliest knives that I did a stealth review on. And so there's a little bit of personal attachment there. Right here, North Arm Skaha. This is a great knife. The action on this is still out of this world for its price. The S35DN is well done. They're hard to get, mostly because some jackass put up a good review of them on YouTube. But it's still great. This is a CRKT Pilar, which is a very nice little design. This is carbon fiber and D2 steel, and then I swapped in a set of phosphor bronze washers. That's right. That makes the action on this guy substantially better, although it's still wearing in very much. It's a nice little piece. I don't actually know who made the washers. That's a terrible thing. If you made the washers, this was sent to me the washers were sent to me by a viewer. Actually, it's sent to me by a viewer too. Thanks, Chris. But anyways, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing with the phosphor bronze washers. So it does get some occasional pocket time. Again, it's a nice budget option. Here we have the Spyderco Dragonfly, a great little travel option. Very small, tends to be relatively legal. That's a nice thing. We have here the Elijah Isham Civivi Damascus Steel McKenna. Here we go. Absolutely beautiful little knife, and one I kind of want to keep around, give a little more pocket time too. So yeah, there you go. And might be worth talking about at the end of the year. The original Z Hunter. From the gas station right into my heart. There's not much else to say about it. I'll start getting emotional. This is the humble Open L. This is an Open L 0008. I keep it around. I bought the stainless steel rather than the carbon one after I sold my original one because I'm an idiot, but it's a really good point of comparison as a knife reviewer, and, it's cheap enough that it doesn't do any harm at all to keep it around. And so that's a beautiful thing. I have right here a piece of paper saying CRKT Homefront in titanium, which is a part of my collection on loan to Nehemiah over at Metal Effort, and the Ferrum Forge Archbishop 2.0, which would normally live here, but is actually over at Ferrum Forge at the moment. I'm having them refinish the blade with something a little bit nicer. It's got an acid finish from Wii that I'm not a big fan of, and I asked them, guys, can you do something about that? And they love doing factory customs, so I'm going to have had them do that. So it's over there right now getting worked on. This is a Spyderco Ladybug and a Man Bug. Tossing knives at myself here. Ladybug on the bottom, Man Bug on the top there. These are both in HAP 40 steel. I went ahead and I dyed those, freaking pumpkin scales to a color that is attractive using Rit dye. But these are these are around, and then an H1 steel little. Forget what this is called, the salt bug, something like that. Either way, it's a nice example of the H1 rust-proof steel. So there you go. And then down below here, I have some other ridiculous knives and not so ridiculous knives. Can turn this down a little bit, really? What are you doing out there, people? Destroying everything. Nice. All right. So we'll start over here. This is the Ontario Rat #1. Great knife. No longer used for size comparison on the channel, but I'm keeping it around just because it's a great knife and it's a good point of use. This is a Sandrine TCK. I'm giving this guy a fair amount of time because its whole big thing is that it is a tungsten carbide blade. And so I really want to spend some time with this guy before I make any kind of claims whatsoever about it. But I'm actually pretty impressed with it so far. I mean, in terms of edge retention, oh my God, it's ridiculous. We Knives, Praxis, really great point of comparison on the budget end. I am yet to see value as good as this knife for a long time. This is another Z Hunter. This one is actually falling apart. You can see pieces there. This is Robbie. This is the Z Hunter that I carried for a week as a Patreon challenge. I tried to sharpen it up here and improve that. Unfortunately, the edge retention on this just isn't, and so as a result, yeah, it's a thing. But anyways, that's a piece of my heart laying there that's broken off of there. We spent some time together, so I keep it around to commemorate. A lot of these are just more for sentimental reasons. This is just god-awful knife. Like, I've handled a lot of knives on the channel that are just terrible, but this one is maybe the most, like, patently offensive. This is a terrible knife. This is like the ugliest knife I can maybe imagine. Yeah, this was sent to me and engraved by my buddy over at Spade Knife Works, just because he knew it would just make my heart ache. And not in the best of ways. And so it sticks around just because it's hilarious. This was one of the very first gifts I actually got from the channel. When I had a P.O. box, when I first got a P.O. box, I had a gentleman, and I've forgotten his name entirely. I remember he's in central Colorado someplace. Feel bad about that, but he sent this guy to me. And in fact, people ask me regularly, do you know about this brand, Zombie Nick? Like, yeah, I do know. And he actually had it engraved such that it is the Zombie Nick Shabazz. Would I ever carry this knife? No, not remotely a chance. I mean, seriously, do I want friends don't let friends eat friends on my carry knife? No, probably not. However, it does bring me some joy, and so I have kept it around. This is a very early Kaiser Knives. It has very little detent. It is tipped down only. It will not ever get carried again. However, it is also served, that is, as a sharpening demo for me on a number of occasions. I've learned a bunch of new systems with it for recurves. And it is also one of the very first knives I got from the Reddit Shop Swap, which is it's like, think of it as a Secret Santa sort of thing that goes on Reddit's Knife Club forum, which I'm actually a moderator for. But nevertheless, that's a beautiful piece, and it brings me joy. This knife was given to me by my dearest of mothers. Not that I have multiple mothers and she's the dearest one, she's the only one, but happens to be the dearest as well, partly by definition. Anyways, I digress. It is a terrible knife, and she knew that. Buying it, she said, oh, Nick, I found this one out and about, and it's awful, and you should have it. Found it in Newport, Rhode Island. Oh, boy. This is just awful in every damn way, and yeah, so I've kept that guy around. So anyways, those are, oh, actually, no, I lied. That's not my folding knife collection. I also have a couple of slip joint knives that I keep separately. This is a J.E. Made slip joint knife. This is his clip point Slippy. And it is absolutely a gem. I like this knife just substantially, and it works out great. I very often will carry it in this little pocket carrier here by K&H Leather. You can just drop this into the pocket with my keys. It keeps a Machine Era Classic pen on the side here, and it works great. So that one gets some carry. This is a Wall Street, a GEC 99 Wall Street pattern knife. This was actually my wedding day carry, so it is forever in my collection, much like the wife is, hopefully, forever in my life. Well, yeah. Anyways, so there is that, and it is a cool little knife. It's a nice reminder of what Great Eastern can pull off, and a good traditional point for the channel. Then I've got this guy. This is my token friction folder. This is the FK5 by Hiroaki Ota. This was given to me by my buddy Chris, which is very kind of him. It is a custom knife, but it was a $50 custom knife, so no real argument there. Then this is the slip for the Pena knives, front flipper trapper that I carry it in. Do I have any other pocket knives? Kind of, yeah. I have this Tool Logic card, which is in many ways probably the knife I've owned longest. As a kid, and I talk about this in one of my videos on an old Casio model, but this I was a kid who would go to Shopper Image and pick up everyday carry gear. I was doomed from a freaking start. Like, I lost so much of my allowance to freaking, like, Shopper Image Brookstone, offering cool everyday gadgets, right? And this was one of them. It's a Tool Logic credit card companion. This knife is made of, I don't know. It's someplace between butter and foam. But you know what? It's the knife I've owned longest, and although it's not something I would ever carry or use, it's a nice reminder of the little nerd that I came from. This is a straight razor. I keep it in here so that it doesn't rust to death in my bathroom, but it is a beautiful thing. And if I'm straight razor shaving, I'll come grab it. This is the Leatherman Squirt. This is the P4. This is in some ways probably my most carried item in that this was in my pocket solid for 10 years straight, attached to my key. No other knife in my collection has that kind of duration. And so that's gotten a lot of love over the years and will always remain. And then this is, the spare wedding band, etc. If mine's getting cleaned or whatever, it's cheap little sterling silver, but it does the trick. So there you go. I believe that is all of the knife world. Yeah, down here I've just got actually a set of everyday carry hanks. A handkerchief. Sorry. People have found me all sorts of gem-themed hanks. This one was everyday EDC Gear House. Who did this one? I forget. Yeah, Gorilla Hanks. Viewers, yeah, there's a joy there. But anyways, people always ask, why the heck would you carry a hank? That seems really gross. I agree. Blowing your nose into something, then shoving it back in your pocket, kind of disgusting. However, where these guys actually do come in handy a great deal is either on a really hot day when you know you're going to be sweating, because that way you're not just like trying to squeegee it off your face with your hand. You can just reach up, pat, 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 put it back in your pocket, and you're good to go, or wipe it off, etc. The other time these are really helpful is when you're sick, because very often it's nice to be able to just kind of like, if you're coughing, like, and then that way it both covers it acoustically and covers it from, spreading all over people. This last thing you want to do is spray particulates over your friends and family. So that's a thing. There we go. Pop that in. Over here we have, what's in here? Oh yeah, we already did that drawer. Over here we have Flashlight Country. So in Flashlight Country here we have a number of things. We have the ThruNite TC20. Very, very nice little light. This is one that, I could probably sell, but I kind of keep it around just because having flashlights in good supply is not a bad thing for, like, disasters and things like that. Speaking of which, my token ridiculous flashlight is this guy. This is the Olight X7 Armor Rada, which is a completely nuts flashlight. Like, oh my God. But it also has a great deal of duration, etc. You can bounce this up at a ceiling and light a room for 10 hours. It's a solid piece. I have the MeagTac V25A. Pair of those guys. Both of them are excellent for everyday carry. I have a ThruNite Neutron, which is not in here because it is over there because I was using it as a comparison in a video, but it is the ThruNite Neutron 2C is probably my general recommendation. There's always one in my pack with me on a regular basis, etc. Let me grab my pack real quick. Here we go. ThruNite Neutron 2C. Absolutely stellar light. It's got enough light for every day. It's got enough durability, battery-wise. It's good to go. This is just probably my go-to light. Generally speaking. Then I have the 10,000 lumens Nightcore TM10K. This is a ridiculous light in every, I mean, seriously, like, this is so nuts. I'm pointing it at the ceiling and lighting it up. This is a light, though, that actually I carry a lot, because not only does it give me, battery readout on the top, not only does it have a nice variety of settings here, but also has the ability to put out more light than any human could possibly need. Like, I can win against a street light carrying this guy, and because it's relatively thin in the pocket here, I mean, size comparison, it's actually very easy to just toss in the pocket and go. And so I've been a fan of that guy. I think it's been a piece that I've liked a lot, and has gotten way more pocket time than it should. I wish it weren't so damn expensive, but it is pretty good. Let's see here. This is Pen Country up here. We have Urban Survival Gear Tie Scribe Bolt. I actually have two of these guys. One of them is the original Kickstarter version. One of them is a later version, so you can see change and finish. This is the mini Tie Scribe Bolt, which actually just went live today, which is a very, very nice little pen here. The Pocket Charter. For those of you unaware, that is actually, if you were to ask a normal person to pronounce it, it would be Parker Jotter. But it's Parker Charter. It is not like Parker Charter, like I put on a parka and then got on the charter plane, though that's a different thing. But this is one of the best everyday carry pens for an inexpensive price. Pilot G2 for size comparison, Pilot or Big Click Stick pen. This is probably my most carried pen. This is a Machine Era Classic pen. Here we have a a pen I stole from a Hampton Inn. Sorry about that, guys. And the Vision Metal LP5, which is the most compact pen that I have in my collection, in that this will fit pretty much anywhere, yet it still actually writes worth a damn. So that's a really nice little choice there. Nothing in the top drawer there yet. Got some room to grow here. That's watches. This is lactase. I am a man who prides himself on being tolerant of many things. Lactose is not among them. If I eat cheese or drink a milkshake or something like that without taking anything, my intestines will try to kill me approximately 6 hours later. And so this prevents that process. And so I just keep this in my everyday carry drawer. And every time I realize, oh, I don't have any in my pocket, I just grab some out of there. Welcome to my life. There you go. That's covered. And then down here in the sub drawer, if you will, pop this guy open here. We have, yikes. Gonna have to blur that out. That is the prototype drawer. We have a bunch of sharpening supplies. I've got a pair of strops here, a big strop here, another strop. This is some leather conditioner, some files, and the Spyderco Golden Stone. That's there. What else? This is an empty drawer. And then down here I have more sharpening supplies, as well as some pouches and things like that, just for everyday gear. There's another set of whetstones, etc. So, there you go. Whoops. Anyway, so that is actually my everyday carry gear collection. That covers pretty much all of it. I have a couple of fixed blades. Oh, I'm sorry. There are some other things that I do keep around, but they don't tend to get carried. I've got, like, for instance, my size comparison knives. Ontario Rat #1. Spyderco Delica. This is Stan, the Spyderco Delica. It's named after a family friend of ours who was actually, like, honest to God, a hero. I'm not going to go too deep into it out of respect for him, but he actually was one of the first people I knew who carried a pocket knife, and to great effect. And, you know, and he carried a Delica, a pair of them, actually, one serrated, one not. But anyways, great guy. This is the Spyderco Paramilitary 2 for size comparison there. And then I have a couple of other pieces around that are just mostly used for comparison. I've got like a Cricket Ruger LCK pocket knife. I have, you know, Cricket Wrinkle, a couple of Ruwaikis, etc. But, you know, that's kind of what I've got going on. So, and then, fixed blades. I have an EC Laser Strike in the other room that's ridiculous, but kind of fun. Where the heck is the other big fixed blade? This guy is about to get added to the permanent collection. I didn't believe it. I didn't see it coming, but here we go. Spyderco Sal Glesser Respect Bowie. Haven't filmed the review yet. It's kind of hard to review what is basically an art knife, but I find this knife to be absolutely beautiful, and it's ridiculous in every damn way. It's not like ever a functional piece, but I mean, it could be. But this is really a tribute to the American Bowie knife, and I love the design of it. It's sort of a futuristic Bowie knife. I don't know. I freaking like this knife a lot, and so I'm going to end up picking this guy up for the collection. That's a beautiful thing. So anyways, that is the everyday carry knife or everyday carry gear selection from Nick Shabazz here. I hope this has been interesting. Whoops, face reveal, and have yourselves just an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. Bye now.